YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. There we go. Hello, guys. How's everybody doing? I'm back. I got back last night, but I mean, it was like I didn't get home until 6 o'clock and I was just a zombie. So Callum was trying to get me to go live and I almost did, but I was like, Callum, it's midnight for me. And I've been traveling since 5:30 in the morning. So that was not going to work. All right, let me get TikTok rolling here. I may even try to sit up normally today. Let's see how my spine nerve thing handles that. It's worth an attempt. But let's see here. I'm still messing with my hair. The haircut is still growing out, and you know. Let's hold on. I'm going to change my. I guess I can't change the name, can I? It's not going to let me change the name. Okay, whatever. Whatever. TikTok. Oh, live goal. All right, hold on. TikTok's taking me a second though. YouTube. Sorry about this. I usually like to get this set up first, but as you know, when I first come back, it takes me a second to figure out what the hell I'm doing here. You know. So give me one quick moment. Sorry, YouTube. Anyway, good to see everybody there. And I meant to set up the YouTube a little earlier than 5 minutes ago, but alas, that didn't happen. So sorry. That's it. That's annoying. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, TikTok keeps changing things on me. I hate this. I hate when they change things on me again. Freaks. God, they're such freaks. It's okay. It's okay. I'm back. I am back. Not sure I'm excited to be back. Not because you guys are fine, but just being back overall, it's like, blah. So, you know, what do you do? Anyway, all right. Let me get TikTok rolling here. TikTok, reset your live goal. Yes. All right. Go live, and let's hope we do this correctly since I haven't done this one in a while. Oh, there we go. TikTok. Hello, TikTok. There we go. Mirror my image. All right, I've done TikTok correctly. I've done you all correctly. Hello. Hey, Slovakia. Yes, as always, why I assume there wasn't a good time to leave the country. Thank you, Jens. Appreciate that. Hello, Ash. Hello, everybody. How are we all doing this evening? I'd like to say I'm glad I'm back, but I'm not sure I'm glad I'm back, but you know what I mean? Europe was fun. Hey guys, I am back from Europe as of last night. So I did not do a show. Thank you, Marie. Thank you. Who is it? Tarmo and Crazy and others for the gifts. I did not do a show last night. Callum tried to get me to do a show last night, but you know, it was 6 hours ahead, Italy time. I got up at 5:30 in the morning and I was like, Callum, I can't do a show. I'm dying. I did stay up till 11 though, but just like, blah, you know. Hey, Kim. Oh, anyway, but I am wearing my new Italian sweater, which I'm very excited because I like it. It was cheap. As Midwesterners always do, we brag about getting things cheaply. My sweater was 50% sale, $25. I did not splurge. I was very good. So anyway, thank you, Carol, for the gift. Thank you, Seeds. So welcome, guys. We've got a lot of news today, as you know. Actually, a lot of news of the last 2 weeks. Big surprise. But a lot of news of my sweater is soft. Yes, of course it's soft. It's a sweater. But yeah, 25 euros. Well, it's a Benetton, which I'm so excited. Benetton like stopped existing, or Benetton stopped existing in like other countries, and they're still in Italy, and they still sell wonderful clothes. And of course, they fit me because you know I'm Greek, and that was the one like big thing. France was pretty close. Thank you, Pedro, for the gifts. France was pretty close, but Greece was even better in terms of finding clothes that actually fit me. My body is totally wrong for American clothes. I don't want to waste my time with you guys on this, but it's very frustrating as a not fat American who's a little short. You can't find clothes that fit. So it's very frustrating. So I went to France when I was a kid, and I first found clothes, and then I went to Italy, and it was like, oh my God, somebody who made clothes that actually fit Greeks. So anyway, hello guys. So yes, there's a lot of news going on. We're going to get rolling here. We're going to talk, as always, about Trump and about Ukraine. Most of the news is interconnected, Trump and Ukraine today. But we'll start with a little bit of Trump that isn't connected to Ukraine and then segue into Trump and Ukraine. I'm going to look here and see. I don't know if I've got my thermostat. I don't think I have my thermostat. I'm going to have to put my thermostat on here. I don't think I do. Oh, I do have my thermostat on here. Okay. I want to put my fan on my thermostat because it's a little hot today. But yes, we're going to start with Trump and tariffs. Trump has started a trade war a tariff trade war. which was just kind of lovely. So I'm going to start talking about that first as soon as I get my fan. There we go. There's my fan. All right. I got my fan rolling on my HVAC, so we are set. All right, welcome everybody. So yes, let's talk about trade wars first. So Trump started a trade war officially today with Canada, Mexico, and China. He had already put tariffs on China a month ago. You may recall 10%. He put another 10% on China today. The Chinese responded with a 15% tariff on some American products today. The Canadians responded with a bunch of tariffs on American products in revenge, and he put 25% on Canada. Here's the thing. So Trump puts 10% on China, which is arguably, not America's friend, to put it nicely, but on America's close friends of Mexico and Canada, especially Canada, we have incredibly close relationship with Canada. We did until Trump got elected. He puts a 25% tariff. The problem is the Canadians responded and said, okay, we'll do the same. Now, it behooves me to explain a little bit about tariffs to folks, because I think some people, a lot of people may not know exactly how tariffs work, and that is understandable because it may not be your life like it is mine to have to understand this stuff. But basically, thank you, Martin, for subscribing. A tariff is a tax on goods as they come into the U.S. Now, when you and I go shopping and we buy something, let's say we go to the grocery store and we buy avocados. Our avocado, most likely in America, comes from Mexico. Now, we are not buying that avocado from Mexico. We're buying it from our local grocery store, right? Harris Teeter, Safeway, whatever your local Safeway store, whatever your grocery store, right? But you're not buying the avocado from Mexico. You're buying it from an American company. And that American company either imported that avocado from Mexico and bought it, or they bought it from a middleman, a company like a wholesaler, whatever they call them, but a company in the middle that buys avocados from Mexico, that American company, and then resells them to stores like Safeway, et cetera. So you're not the one initially paying the tariff. The tariff is being paid initially by the American company that buys these goods from Mexico, Canada, and China. But make no mistake here, because Trump has been trying to trick people about this. That American company is paying the tariff. Trump keeps saying, China's going to pay. China's not going to pay a thing. That is a tariff, and you can Google this quite literally. Thank you, Hellianne, for subscribing. A tariff is a tax on an American company as it attempts to buy a Canadian, a Chinese, or a Mexican product. It has to pay 25, if it's Canadian or Mexican, for most products, it has to pay 25% tax on that product now in order to buy it. That tax goes to the U.S. government. But here's the problem for you and me. When Safeway, your grocery store, goes and buys that avocado from Mexico, and they now have to pay 25% more for that avocado, they've got to decide, do they just lose money on avocados now? Do they no longer sell avocados? Or do they pass part or all of the increased price of the avocado to you and me? And that's the concern here. Produce in particular, fruits and vegetables. I was reading today that they have a profit margin of like 2 or 3%, meaning they literally, on every avocado they sell, they only make about 2 or 3%. They can't afford 25% on groceries. They have to pass that along to you and me. So that's the problem, is that when Trump puts tariffs on goods coming in from China, Mexico, and Canada, 3 of our biggest trading partners, at the very least, he is putting a 25% tax on American companies, because those American companies have to buy those goods. So they're already reached it is inflationary, right? Per se, the price of the good goes up 25% for American companies. The American company then has to decide, do I eat the 25%? And if I do, it means my profits go down. Well, what do companies do when their profits go down? They lay off people like you and me. Right? So the first problem is it could cause unemployment. The second problem is the company could say, well, we don't want to lose money. We don't want to fire our employers. Let's just charge you listening out there 25% more or 10% more or 15% more. Well, this is not just hypothetical. The chairman and executive officer, CEO of Target today. Target is a large American, God, what do we call Target? A big box store? We sort of went through this before with you guys, trying to explain. I don't know if this is like, I'm trying to remember in France, would it be Carrefour? Would it be Leroy Merlin or whatever? I'm trying to think like in Europe, what you would call Target. Target is a store that has groceries nowadays, a retailer, big box. They have groceries, but they also sell clothing and electronics and like all sorts of different stuff. Well, I'm trying to explain it for a foreigner, Frankenstein, for a non-American, how you would explain what Target is. I don't know if you guys know hypermarkets. Okay, there we go. The European phrase is often hypermarkets, for example. Okay. So the first problem with tariffs is they increase the price of products that American companies buy. So American companies see inflation. American companies have to spend more money. American companies make less money. And that causes two things, as I said. One, maybe they fire you and me in order to, because they no longer have as much money, or maybe they increase the price of their products. And now you and I have to pay more. The second problem, I should say, not even second problem. The CEO of Target, I was telling you, this large American retailer, thank you, Marsha, for the gifts. This large American retailer said today that later this week, he is likely going to have to increase the price of produce, of fruits and vegetables inside Target stores across America because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Later this week. Now, why would it be this quickly? I was reading about, again, I've been reading up on tariffs and everything lately to make sure I'm educated on this. Certain things such as, for example, strawberries. Strawberries, actually, you and I know this, right? You know how you buy certain fruit at the store, like apples could last, not forever, but apples can last for weeks. But whenever you buy fruit like strawberries or blueberries or even raspberries, maybe more so, they go bad in like 3 or 4 days. Strawberries have to be replaced every week. They can't buy strawberries and have them sit for 3 weeks. So certain produce, certain fruits and vegetables will go bad in the next week. And thank you, Terrence, for subscribing on TikTok. And the stores have to buy more of them. That means the tariff could have an impact on prices as early as this week, that Americans will see inflation go up. It's bad. Now, the other issue, and again, this is important because tariffs matter. The other problem with tariffs is not only do they increase prices for American companies, not only do they increase prices for American consumers, causing inflation, but tariffs also can hurt the U.S. economy in another way. What does Canada do? What does Mexico do? What does China do when Trump imposes tariffs like he just did today on those 3 countries? When Trump says, we're going to charge more in the U.S. for goods coming in from Canada, Mexico, and China, what do those 3 countries do? They say, screw you. We're going to charge you the same. Right? So we're going to put a tax, a tariff on your products, on your American products coming to China, coming to Canada, coming to Mexico. Here's the problem. What does that do? If we, and this is simple economics, all of you will understand this, even if you've never taken economics. If the Chinese retaliate by making the price of American products sold in China 25% more expensive, either people may buy the product, but most likely if the price goes up 25%, fewer people are buying the products. That's the first problem. So the American companies are selling fewer products now in Canada, Mexico, and China because of the retaliatory tariffs. Those countries, because right, the tariff is a tax, a 25% tax on the products, cause the product's price to go up 25%, and fewer companies will buy the product because it's too expensive. The second problem is that even though you might say, well, fewer people buy, but now the product's 25% more. Aren't we getting more money as American companies? No, you're not, because that tariff goes to the Chinese government. The Chinese government will make 25% on that product. So the American company isn't. This is why tariffs can be so bad and so deadly. Not deadly, but so dangerous. Thank you, or was it Kales? I appreciate that. I did enjoy my vacation. Thank you so much. This is why tariffs are so bad, because they can cause inflation in our country, and they can cause foreign countries to stop buying American goods. So inflation goes up here, that's bad. American companies make less money because our goods don't, by the way, they make less money because of the tariff, and they also make less money because other countries put tariffs on our goods. So now the American companies aren't making as much. And what happens when American companies don't make as much? They lay people off. Thank you, Ash, for the gift. It's a mess across the board. We got a troll jumping around. Oh, who's our troll? Oh, that's it. Yeah, sure they are. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you got him already? There you go. Thank you, whoever that was. Oh, thank you, Jens. Appreciate that. So, yeah, it's bad. Mexico, who was asking that? Magnus was asking, has Mexico responded? Not yet. Thank you, Ash, for the gift. Mexico and Cindy and Amy. Mexico has said, I believe, that they are going to respond with, or they're going to give their response this coming Sunday. I'm not sure why it was Sunday. It seemed like, 5 days from now seems a bit odd. The Canadians immediately responded and said they were going to do something like 31 billion or something in tariffs. I'm not sure the Canadians said, I think the Canadians did not say which products they were going to put the tariffs on yet. That's going to come. The Mexicans have not announced their retaliatory tariffs at all, but say they'll be coming this weekend. And the Canadians have also said that if the tariffs do not go away in the next 2 weeks, they will put even more tariffs on American products in 2 weeks. This is bad. I mean, this is very bad. One of the big causes, maybe not causes, but one of the big, thank you, Succeed, for the huge galaxy. I appreciate that. One of the things that made the Great Depression even worse were all the tariffs. You can Google this, but it was the Smoot-Hawley or Hawley-Smoot or whatever Tariff Act that America put in place, and all the other countries retaliated, and it destroyed all of our economy. We already had the Great Depression coming in, and then we had this economic policy of tariffs that destroyed our economies. This is very dangerous. Anyway, so that's what's up with the tariffs. Some specific products affected. We talked about groceries already. Fruit and vegetables from Mexico, especially over the winter. We get a lot of fruits and vegetables from Mexico. Electronics from China are going to be a problem. Your iPhone, a lot of our iPhones are assembled in China. Lumber, you get a lot of lumber from China, from Canada. A lot of American lumber actually comes from Canada. That means the price of building a house, building an apartment is going to be more expensive. That means what you have to pay to build your house, what you have to pay to buy your house, what you have to pay to rent that new apartment is all going to go up. Gas prices, gasoline prices in the northern U.S., in the Midwest, in the Northwest, in the Northeast are also expected to go up because of this, because Trump put around a 10% tariff on Canadian gas and oil and gas. So that's going to be a problem too. This is bad. I mean, this is bad, guys. This is not sound economic policy, but Trump is doing it. Thank you, Lori. At the same time, what else we got going here? Elon Musk is attacking Social Security again. This is very concerning. So Social Security, for those of you not aware, because we get about 30% of our audience is not American. Thank you, Sky, for the gifts. Do keep the gifts coming, guys. I always hate doing the gift pitches, but I do this for a living, other than when I'm gone on vacation for the last week and a half. Oh, that's really cool. What is that? Sandria, thank you. Wow, that was really fun. That looked like, whatchamacallit, the movie that Ellen DeGeneres is the fish in. It's not, I was going to say emo. It's not emo. What's the name of the fish? That was really cute. I like that. That was very cute. Social Nemo. I was going to say emo. Emo would be Nemo's more depressed, brother. So Dory, there you go. So Social Security is, thank you, Randy, for the gifts. Social Security is America's retirement pension plan. All of us pay into it. Those of us who work on our own pay twice as much, because basically your employer pays a certain percent of each paycheck and you pay a certain percent of each paycheck. But if you work on your own like I do, you've got to pay both percentages. So I actually pay twice as much into Social Security as somebody making the same amount of money as me who works for a company. So when you work on your own, it's a lot. Well, Democrats have been very worried that Republicans have talked a lot. Thank you, Det. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Super Hornet. Thank you, Karuna. Democrats have been very worried about Republican threats to cut Social Security and Medicare. Medicare is our health insurance program for seniors. Social Security pension program for seniors. And some Republicans have threatened before. Thank you, Cheryl. Those are pretty funny. Some Republicans have in fact threatened to cut Social Security before. It's a complicated topic. I'm not going to get into it now. But there's a lot of concern about Republicans messing with Social Security because it actually is a significant amount of money. I mean, it actually could be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. If you make a lot of money, it could even be $5,000 a month that you're getting from Social Security. It's a lot. It surprised me. Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you, KT. It surprised me when I was looking at my little mailer I get from Social Security. I don't make that much money. I mean, I could be making a lot of money with my background, but I don't. Thank you, Janice. And it's actually a significant amount of money that Social Security is going to be paying me, which I was quite surprised. I really thought Social Security was going to be like $500, $1,000 a month. It's several thousand. It can be several $1,000s a month. So it's very important to people. It is not the same as a 401k. Nope. 401ks, I don't want to get through the whole thing now, but a 401k is when you invest in the stock market. You put money away. It's a little complicated, but you put money away tax-free, and then you pay taxes on it later. Your company may invest a little bit for you as well, and you invest it in the stock market, basically. Social Security is you give the money to your government, they sit on it, and you get some of it back in the end. Now, big debate as to whether that's the best way to do it. Republicans say maybe we should just invest the money in the stock market overall. That's a whole other debate. All right. In any case, Elon Musk made some news because he went on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday. Joe Rogan is a big MAGA Republican sort of troublemaker. And Elon went on Rogan's podcast yesterday and called Social Security. What was the quote? Social Security, Elon said, is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. That was not very smart of him, because Democrats have been saying that Republicans are getting ready to cut Social Security under Trump and Elon. And for Elon to go out there and keep knocking Social Security makes it sound like he's going to be coming for Social Security. Thank you, Jonathan. I even read today that one news story, I think it might have been from the Bulwark, said that Elon's Doge group, the group Elon has, that he goes and cuts all of these government programs and agencies, even though it's not clear it's legal, that his group is going to start privatizing parts of Social Security, starting with the part that deals with, customer complaints and phone calls. That basically the customer service part of Social Security, Elon is reportedly going to start privatizing. Slippery slope, right? As far as what happens next. If they're starting to cut there, are they going to cut other areas as well? Let's see. We're going to talk about Ukraine. A lot of Ukraine news, by the way. The other news story about the Trump administration today, remember our little friend, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I've told you a lot about him. I always have to be careful because TikTok and even YouTube gets a little upset. YouTube only because sometimes they misinterpret. We were talking about RFK Jr. once, and the YouTube gods misinterpreted it as me agreeing with him and being anti-vaccine. I am pro-vaccine. I am pro-science. I am anti-RFK. But RFK Jr. Is Trump's top health official in the U.S. government. He is controversial, to put it lightly, with scientists and medical experts because he believes in a lot of things that have no basis in science. He believes in a lot of medical conspiracy theories. RFK Jr. claimed falsely during a podcast last year. Thank you for Lori for the duck. And who was that with the galaxy? Thank you, Greg, for the galaxy. RFK Jr. claimed falsely a year and a half ago that this was the false claim he made. He claimed falsely that no vaccine has ever been proven safe and effective. And people were like, that's not true. All the scientists said that's just not true. In fact, lots of vaccines have been proven safe. Lots of vaccines have been proven effective. RFK Jr. was just wrong. Well, Trump made him his top guy. Lots of conspiracy theories from this guy. Very scary stuff. Thank you, Gilly. Trump makes RFK Jr., this conspiracy guy, America's top health official. And what's he doing today? Yeah, one of the other issues, actually, people just reminded me, one of the other things that RFK Jr. did is this organization he set up to undercut vaccines claimed falsely about 6 months ago that the polio vaccine doesn't work. Guys, polio, right? The most successful vaccine in the history of the world probably is polio, right? Saved millions of children from losing control of their limbs, from being stuck in those horrible iron lung, those containers that they used to have to put people in from polio. RFK Jr.'s organization claimed falsely that polio, the vaccine doesn't work, he claimed falsely. Of course, it's a total lie. We know the vaccine works. They also falsely claimed that polio wasn't even caused by the polio virus. It was caused by toxins, they falsely claimed. Crazy stuff, right? Well, he's America's health official under Trump, just to show you how bad things are. I'm going to read you from the New York Times today about what he did now. As a little bit of background, we are having a growing polio. We don't have polio yet. We are having a growing measles outbreak in Texas, a Republican state in the south of the U.S., mostly Republican. And the growing outbreak is among children whose parents refused to get them vaccinated. So that's what's happening with polio in Texas. Listen to this. As New York Times, as a measles outbreak expands in West Texas, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary, on Tuesday cheered several unconventional treatments for measles, including cod liver oil, which is total bullshit. It's not a treatment for measles at all. Listen to this. But again, did not urge Americans to get vaccinated against measles. Mr. Kennedy claimed that by treating measles cases with a Texas doctors had seen, quote, very good results, Mr. Kennedy claimed, by treating measles. This is the New York Times. This is total bullshit. By treating measles cases with a steroid, an antibiotic, and cod liver oil, which he said has high levels of vitamin A and vitamin D. New York Times. While physicians sometimes administer doses of vitamin A to treat children with severe measles, cod liver oil is, quote, by no means an evidence-based treatment, said Dr. Sean O'Leary, chair of the American Academy of Pediatrics Committee on Infectious Diseases. Dr. O'Leary added that he had never heard of a physician using the supplement against measles. They go on. He did not recommend. He recommended cod liver oil to treat measles, which is total fake medicine. It's fake. No one sane treats measles with cod liver oil. He did not recommend that people get vaccinated, which is the only way we know to stop you from getting measles is to be vaccinated. He refused to recommend the vaccination. He recommended fake conspiracy medicine. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. All right. Let's move on. So Trump, today is day 1,103 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. This Ukraine stuff is all over the place today. The big news of the last day is that Donald Trump last night cut off all U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Now, this is kind of very complicated. Last week, as you guys know, I did some videos on this. Last week, Friday, actually, Trump had Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House in the Oval Office, okay? And they were going to sign an agreement, basically the U.S. extorting Ukraine to take its minerals from them, if we're telling the truth. Basically taking advantage of the Ukrainians and saying, if you want any more help, we're taking half your minerals or something like that. We don't, at least of the what do they call the, I'm tired, guys. What do we call the category of minerals? It's, I'm forgetting what we call them. Oh God, they're not dense minerals. What the hell are they called? Help me, guys. Rare earth minerals. Thank you, Gunther. Rare earth minerals. Exactly. Well, Zelensky goes to the White House to sign the deal. Trump is very happy. And all of a sudden, Trump and J.D. Vance, the vice president, start attacking Zelensky last Friday. It appeared to be a total setup. I mean, one of those things where literally out of the blue, Vance just starts yelling at him and Trump starts yelling at him. You're being rude, this kind of crazy stuff. It appeared to be a total setup. Thank you, Zach, for the gift there. It appears that Trump and Vance wanted the blow up with Zelensky. Why they wanted it? Well, a couple different things. One, Trump is famous for having said, you never accept the first offer. And I think Trump, the nicest, the most generous reasoning I could give or whatever. Thank you, Iboli. Let me do this first and then we'll get back to Kennedy again. Mods and everybody, remind me if I don't get back to Iboli's comment there on YouTube. Thank you for that. Let me finish this one first. The generous explanation of why Trump did this to Zelensky is that Trump wanted to negotiate and get more, that he wanted to get even more minerals out of the Ukrainians. And he therefore did this fake blow up to he literally kicked Zelensky out of the White House and said, we're not doing any deal with you. Then last night, what does Trump do? We're not giving you any more weapons. Trump cut off American weapons last night to Ukraine. You know, some people say, and the media is just so dumb here. I've been watching a number of people in the media going, Trump was, his people say he was very angry at Zelensky and he needs an apology. He's very angry. Sure, if you believe the reason Trump blew up at Zelensky was because he was legitimately angry, I got a bridge to sell you. I think Trump wanted more out of the deal. He wanted Zelensky to give him even more minerals. And therefore, they blew up at Zelensky. Zelensky still didn't cave several days later. So then last night he cut off the weapons. Again, to pressure Zelensky into giving, it's extortion, into giving even more of Ukraine's, heritage and minerals to the Americans. Supposedly tonight is Trump's State of the Union, or whatever you want to call it, since it's March. It's a little late, but typically when a new president comes in, the State of the Union is delayed. The State of the Union is a speech that the president gives every year to the nation, and it talks about the state of the nation. I will not be watching because I cannot stand an hour of Donald Trump. I will not watch him. I'll watch the highlights. But in the State of the Union, Trump wanted to be able to say that I have signed this historic deal. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Royce. I have signed this historic deal with President Zelensky of Ukraine. And that's why he was putting the pressure on Zelensky. He wanted the deal. The latest report from Reuters, like an hour ago, is they reached some kind of deal. Zelensky reached out, and they are going to, if they don't sign it tonight, Trump will at least announce tonight that the deal has been reached. So is that a good thing? I don't know. Thank you, Jeff. I don't trust Trump as far as I can throw him. I trust Trump to take as many minerals out of Ukraine as he can get. I do not trust him to give them any kind of security guarantees. I don't trust him to do anything else. Nonetheless, that's where all of this stands. I'm trying to think what else with this. Oh, the Russians rejoiced. You will be surprised to hear that many officials in the Russian government today came out and publicly embraced Trump's freezing of aid to Ukraine. What a surprise. Big surprise there. What else here? Oh, this one cracked me up. So guess who was particularly upset that Donald Trump cut off American aid to Ukraine last night? This one cracked me up. This one totally cracked me up. Marine Le Pen criticized Donald Trump. Thank you, Renee, for the subscription on TikTok. Keep them coming, guys. Marine Le Pen, who is the head of the national, I forget what they call them now. They were the National Front. They've got a new name now. It's France's wannabe neo-fascist party, to put it nicely. Marine Le Pen, again, a quasi-fascist party leader in France. Now, they've got a big following, but they are quasi-fascist and neo-fascist. She condemned the brutality of the U.S. decision to suspend aid to Ukraine. National rally. Oh, it's Rassemblement. Thank you, Roma. Now, I got to say, what's particularly funny here is not only is Marine Le Pen this kind of wannabe fascist type figure, she's super duper pro-Russian. Her organization even got like a huge loan from Russia, reportedly, right? She is so pro-Russian, it's not even funny. She got accused during the election a few years back of basically working for Moscow, okay? She's so pro-Russian. And even she was appalled that Donald Trump cut off aid to Ukraine. That's how freaky, like, the whole story is, okay? But that one cracked me up. Let me see here. Oh, another thing Zelensky did, and then I'll get to your guys' comments. I see you, Tonka, too, and I've still got to do iBully's comment, but I want to finish the Zelensky thing first. The other thing Zelensky did today, which is very interesting. Thank you, Nick. Keep the guys coming. Keep the gifts coming, guys, on TikTok and YouTube. I do this for a living, so your gifts help pay the bills, so thank you. Another thing that Zelensky did today, which was very interesting, he didn't apologize to Trump. He expressed like regret for what happened in the Oval Office. Thank you, Southie. Thank you, Randy, Fred, Camille. But Zelensky also came out today and offered like a ceasefire proposal that was very interesting because it kind of puts the Russians in a weird spot. Listen to this. Zelensky said, we are ready to work fast to end the war. And the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truces in the sky a ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and a truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same. What's interesting about that is he's kind of he's actually putting Trump and Russia in a bad position here. My guess is Trump may want to respond to Zelensky's little thing by saying, well, you haven't apologized yet. I don't care what peace offering you're making because you don't want to apologize. For him to put this, basically saying, let's have a ceasefire of sorts. If Putin doesn't agree, it makes Putin look like the bad guy. If Trump doesn't agree to at least say, hey, that's really good, right? What you just offered, let's talk about it. If Trump says, no, I'm not talking to you, you were mean, it's not just going to make Trump look petty. It's going to make Trump look like he's not for peace. Because, right, the point is, if Zelensky's what Zelensky said wasn't crazy. He's talking about peace, a truce fire in the air, right? A ceasefire. I like the word peacefire, though. That's kind of funny. A ceasefire with missiles going back and forth. That sounds good, right? If Trump just says, I'm not going to talk to you about this because you were mean to me, right? It puts Trump in a weird. I think this was smart of Zelensky to do. I think it was smart. Now let's get back. A couple questions and things here. So iBully was mentioning the RFK Jr. stuff and said, of course, RFK is into conspiracy theories. He's trying to be the first Kennedy to pass. That's cute. iBully, not going to say that. I've got to be careful what I say, but that's cute. Tonka says, I thought under the Budapest Memorandum, this Trump deal is illegal. Oh, I have no knowledge of that. Why would it be illegal under the Budapest Memorandum? Now, the Budapest Memorandum is a document signed by the Ukrainians, the Russians, the Americans, the British back in 1994, where we got Ukraine to give up their nuclear weapons. And in exchange, we promised that we, the U.S. and Britain, would come to Ukraine's aid if the Russians ever invaded. The Russians also promised not to invade. They lied. We promised to come to Ukraine's aid if they got invaded. We lied because they did get invaded in 2014 and we did not come to their aid. And this time around, we came to their aid, but not very well, to be honest. I do not know anything about what the impact is on the deal, the mineral deal being illegal. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if I just don't know it or what. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, Tonka. Sorry. And Jens gave a gift membership that James got. Thank you for that, Jens. Smug says Britain and France said they would put boots on the ground in Ukraine if a peace deal was made. Yes. You mean now? Well, now, yes, but I think we already knew that, right? Thank you, Suma, for the gift. Thank you, Janice, as well. I think we already knew that now, though. Did we not? Did they sort of say it officially finally today? Is that what you mean, Smug? Because they'd already said it generally, right? So JD Vance, okay, that's actually good that you brought that up. So the Brits and the French have said for several weeks now. Oh, they did it officially today. Okay, thank you. The Brits and the French for several weeks. Thank you, Jill, for the Paris. Since I was in the Paris airport yesterday, the Paris gift is very appropriate. Thank you. I was in the Paris airport for an hour and I was like running around shopping because I was like, I've got to get stuff. I bought, only Gunther would appreciate this, but I got like a terrine of duck and a rillette, which I don't know how the hell to describe rillette. It's kind of a meaty, fatty mixture of goose. And I was so excited. They had it in the airport. I was like, yay. So I brought my my wonderful fattening food from France, and it cost nothing. Each one cost like $7. So I was like, yay. Very excited. And I also bought some Italian sunglasses that I have wanted to buy for like the last 40 years. So I finally got all right, I will show you actually. Literally for 40 years, I've been wanting to buy a pair of Persol glasses, Persol, which is a very nice Italian brand. Finally tried these in the airport and I was like, okay, these are kind of cool. So I'm kind of liking these. I finally have my set of cool Italian sunglasses. I splurged a little. I tend not to buy expensive things. People always think I live in an expensive apartment. It's not that expensive. I just have good lighting, but I finally splurged and got a nice pair of, I've been wanting to buy them forever. The Persols are the nice Italian brand. And it's sort of the traditional Italian brand. And I've always wanted only one pair. She actually tried that on me. Thank you, Florica. She said, if you get 2 pairs, it's 30% off. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to spend that much money. I mean, like another $100, dollars or whatever it is. I don't think so, but thank you. A Bond villain. Actually, you know who they remind me? They remind me in West Wing. Remember the actor that was playing the American movie producer? What's his name? David Geffen. The actor in West Wing who played David Geffen. They go out to his house and he wants them to come out on Gays in the Military. Think about this, with the short hair and the sunglasses like this. Remember? He's got his sunglasses down a little bit like this. I wear them like that. I think they're pretty cool. I've wanted these. I've wanted a pair of Persol glasses for 40 years. I kid you not. 40. It's just like I said, it's a wonderful Italian brand. And of course, I bought it in the French airport, but it was on the way back from Italy, so that's okay. All right, let's keep going here. Sorry. Thank you, Florica, for the sunglasses. That was cute. Anyway, so let's keep talking here. Vance. So JD Vance, our wonderful vice president, got himself into a little trouble today and now is backtracking. Younger Marcello Mastroianni. Okay, Luis, you win with that one. So JD Vance said something really obnoxious today about the peacekeepers. As somebody, Smug just said, the French and the British had talked weeks ago about possibly putting peacekeepers in Ukraine after the war is over to make sure the Russians don't invade again. And JD Vance responded by saying, listen to this. He referred to a potential peacekeeping force in Ukraine would be, quote, 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years. And the Brits basically said, excuse me, we have been fighting alongside America in the first Gulf War, in the second Gulf War, in Afghanistan. I'm going to guess Iraq too. Help me out, Brits. But I'm going to assume, because you guys are such good allies, that you must have been in Iraq with us. And I say Iraq meaning not just 2003, but up until we pulled out or so, right? You must have been there too. Syria, thank you. That's right. Even Callum and others have told me about Syria. So to refer to the Brits as some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years. Well, he's now backtracking and trying to claim, oh, I didn't mean the Brits. I didn't mean the Brits. He meant the Brits. He also meant the French. He meant the French and the Brits. It's really, and by the way, you know what? The French have been fighting with us too. And not fighting with us, I mean fighting alongside us. The French were definitely there in 91. I don't have it in front of me, but I would guarantee you the French were there in 2003. And I'm going to guess the French were also there. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but did the French go and help us in Afghanistan as well? And also sort of Iraq over these years? I don't know. I don't know if they have, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Bosnia, Georgia's saying yes. So it's the thing. Thank you, Parvin. It does count. Somebody jokingly said to the French, count. They do count. They're our allies. And by the way, Americans sort of don't ever trying to remember this. Guess who is responsible for the American Revolution? Americans like winning against the Brits, the French. They were our first big ally. And they helped us win our freedom against the Brits. Americans sort of like to conveniently forget that. I actually think the reason the Americans make fun of the French is we're jealous of them. Anybody who's been to France, I kind of love how the Trump people and Republicans overall very often try to criticize Europeans. Guys, they're so jealous of you guys. I mean, the Brits, like when Americans think of London, they only think good things. When Americans think of Paris, oh my God. I mean, this is the funny part. Americans love to criticize the French, but literally the number one tourist destination on earth for any American, if you said, we'll give you the money to go, would be Paris. That is always number one on Americans' list. They're like, oh, France, Paris, the romance, right? The food. And it's funny because they play this game of hating France, but I think it's because they freaking love France. And honestly, I just got back from, Italy. Italy's got lots of problems, but oh my God, I've always said this, what an amazing country, and it's too bad because Italy has a lot of problems economically and the government. And I was talking to a young Italian guy who's a political science studying. And we were talking about this. And he said the numbers he heard were 50% of Italians after they finish school, meaning like the very educated Italians who go for higher education, college, university, and beyond, 50% of them end up leaving the country and working in the rest of Europe. Like, that's how bad things are in Italy for the Italians. Anyway, we have to get on that. Anyway, so Vance, so Vice President Vance today decided to attack the French and the Brits, basically accusing them of being not a real military. I mean, it's worth sort of getting into this a little more, because I don't really know what's going on, guys. It's very dangerous and very bad. Why would an American president and vice president hate so many of our allies? Right? Trump comes in with Vance and they immediately criticize Canada. They've been horrific about Canada. Horrific. Trump, I think he did it again today, refers to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, as the governor of Canada because we're going to own them and make them a state. This kind of BS, right? Totally disrespectful. They attacked the UK. They attacked the French right now. J.D. Vance criticized Germany in Europe the other day. They have repeatedly attacked our allies, repeatedly. They attacked Ukraine, criticized Ukraine. Guess who Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Elon Musk, guess who they haven't? They've criticized, again, France, Britain, Germany, Ukraine, Canada, Denmark. Hell, they threatened to go to war against Denmark in order to steal Greenland from the Danes. Guess who Trump, Vance, and Elon Musk have not criticized? The Russians. They haven't criticized the Russians once. They haven't criticized Putin once. But they've attacked all of our top allies. And again, to be what Vance did, and I've told you guys this, what Vance did was so rude and so dismissive. To say of the Brits and the French that they are random countries that haven't fought a war in 30 or 40 years. I mean, they don't like you guys. And I've said this before. Europeans, you need to basically get your act together to I'm trying to think of how to say this in a way, because TikTok gets upset. We have to be careful how we say things for TikTok. But you need to treat us as the enemy at this point. Trump doesn't like you. Vance doesn't like you. I mean, you see the things they say about you. The famous quote about believe somebody when they tell you who they are the first time. Believe J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump when they tell you they hate you the first time. They've told you repeatedly what they think of you. They're contemptuous of you, Canada, UK, France, Germany, Britain twice. They don't like you. They don't respect you. They don't respect the fact that you fought in wars alongside of us up until just a couple of years ago. They just don't. You need to, unfortunately, figure out new trade partners who aren't Americans, which is really bad for the Americans. But honestly, if I were you, I'd start sucking up to China. I've said this before. If I were the Europeans, I'd say, you know what? Chinese Premier Xi, come to Paris. Let's have a big meeting and a big welfare. Let the Americans see this, right? I would tell the Americans, I'd make it clear to the Americans, you go to war with China over Taiwan, bye-bye, right? Bye-bye. We're gonna have the most fun economically we're gonna sell everything to China if you go to war with China over Taiwan. You boycott them, no problem. We'll sell twice as much stuff to China. But I would make it clear to them, militarily, you have no choice. You have to defend yourselves. You guys are gonna have to spend more on your defense budgets. You're gonna have to. There's nothing you can do about it. But it's the only way you're going to survive the Trump years is by assuming that our government, that we are not a friendly government, that we are an enemy now, and you should treat us accordingly. Don't trust anything we tell you. Don't trust any promises we make to you. They don't like you. I'm quite serious. It's very bad to have to say, but you cannot trust our government anymore. It's very bad. They've really destroyed America's influence in the world. It's really scary. Frank Thomas says from New Zealand, as a non-U.S. citizen whose country, along with so many others, stood side by side with you after 9/11, Trump has destroyed the West. He has. He really has. I mean, it really amazing. And I mean, it's sad and distasteful how many of Trump's supporters, and Republicans have also done this in the past. Again, they attack America's allies. Usually it's the French they attack. And, the Republicans go, ha, yeah. Again, even though France, like I said, is the number one vacation destination that every Republican would love to go to, right? Thank you, Marsha. But they still attack France anyway. Anyway, it's very upsetting. Thank you, Marsha, for that. Anyway, more news here. Paula says, if he screws the U.S. up, is there nothing that can be done? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Paula. I mean, nothing that can be done about what? I mean, you guys need to stand up to him, Europeans. You do. I think you guys, you have to figure out what pressure points, what things matter to Trump, what things matter to the Americans. And I would start pushing back. I would start going, you know what? Like I said, China. I'd start developing a much better relationship with the Chinese if I were European at this point and say, you know what? That's fine. He wants Putin to be his buddy. Okay, we'll make China our buddy. Because I got news for you, in 10, 20 years, for already, China's way more important than Russia economically. Militarily, Russia's more belligerent internationally, but China's going to be bigger than on that front too. Thank you, Bryce. Russia has more nukes, but China's going to be caught up in a few years. China's the people to be tied to, not the that's also what bothers me with this. The whole notion of Trump tying the U.S. to the Russians as though we're going to go into the future together and rule the world with the Russians. I mean, seriously, you couldn't. I was going to pick a random small country. I'm not going to say it. Our TikTok gods might be upset. Thank you, Joe. Jay, I'll read that in a second. But actually, this was something I was discussing on Twitter today. Was the whole notion of Trump basically tying the U.S.'s future to Russia's. Right? We're going to have this great relationship with Russia, and we're going to, divide up the world. I believe when I was at graduate school at Georgetown studying this kind of stuff, School of Foreign Service, they called it, I think, the condominium theory is what it was called in international relations. And it was the idea that, the U.S. and Russia run an apartment building, and we divide up the whole world is an apartment building, lots of different apartments, and we divide it up, and we give Russians half and we take half, and they take the apartments on this floor, we take the apartments on that floor, right? Like we get Latin America, they get Africa, whatever, right? That kind of thing. And it was a theory. Not everybody agreed that was the way to do things, but it was a theory based on the notion that Russia was our equal. Because militarily, they were another superpower, right? They were the big bad, right? They were, the yin to our yang, whatever. That was 40 years ago when Russia was our equal militarily in a superpower sense. Russia isn't our equal anymore. Right? I mean, they've got nukes. So does Pakistan. Is Pakistan our equal? I mean, in terms of superpower, right? Love you, Pakistan, but you know what I'm talking about. For Trump to make this, that we're going to screw all of our allies over, but we're going to establish this new relationship with Russia where we are partners in ruling the world. Why would you do that with Russia? I mean, it's almost as if Trump, fell asleep for 40 years and woke up, and he's running from this theory that somehow Russia's the most important adversary and country on earth next to us. And if he can be friends with them, it'll make him look cool, right? It's as if he almost thinks Russia's the Soviet Union, right? That were 40 years ago when, yes, if the American president and the Russian president are together and they're friends, oh my God, the power we would have, right? Except now, what power would we have being partners with Russia? I mean, they've got they've got a big military, and they're very belligerent. They cause a lot of chaos around the world. They cause a lot of bad stuff to happen around the world. They attack their neighbors. But economically, Russia? Oh my God, no, there's nothing there. Culturally, Russia? It's not quite, the Soviets had something going. Gymnastics and art and music, right? I mean, the Bolshoi Ballet. Russia today, culturally, right? Militarily, they're strong and belligerent and a pain in the ass. But the Russians today are not the Soviets. The Soviets, they were the big bad. They were bad. They were scary, right? The Russians aren't really scary. They're just a pain in the ass. I just find it's almost, like I said, as if Trump is, he's an old guy. He's 78. And I think he's almost stuck in this weird old guy way of thinking where he still thinks, Russia is the number one evil in the world. And therefore, if he can make them his friend, he's really cool. Because now the most evil guy in the world thinks he's cool. And I don't think the Russians are good. Russia is a good country as far as government-wise. Thank you, Susan. But they're not they are very bad in many ways, but they're not the Soviet Union. And Trump's treating them as if they're the Soviet Union, you know? Having said that, I think he's also corrupt. Thank you, Candy. There are also very corrupt reasons, I believe, for why Trump is sucking up to Vladimir Putin. So there's that too. But I think part of it really is just like Trump with the New York Times. Thank you, Raython, for the gift. Just like Trump with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. Trump loves to criticize the New York Times, but Trump is desperate for the approval of the New York Times. Trump loves to criticize CNN. He so wants CNN's approval, right? Because Trump likes to pretend he's MAGA. Trump isn't MAGA. Trump is New York socialite. He's not a New York socialite, but he always wanted to be one, right? He got his money and he always wanted, thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Charles. He always wanted to be, I'm not sure what word I can use on TikTok to describe this, but he always wanted to be like a true person with money, like old money. He always wanted to be old money and he's new money. Maybe that's the best way to put it. I don't know if that's an American concept, old money and new money, but he always wanted to be new money. He always wanted to be old money, but he's actually new money. So all the people who go back generations with money from these very esteemed families look at Trump and they go, right? The New York Times going back 100 years looks at Trump and goes, he wants the establishment elite to like him and they don't. And I think that's where Russia fits in. I think he's corrupted by Russia, but I think he also looks at Russia and is desperate for their approval because in the 1980s, they were the Soviets. And that was the cool thing would be, oh my God, thank you, KT, the big bad in the world. Like I said, I think he looks at it the same way, like, oh, the Russians are as bad as it gets. So I want them to be my friends, Trump thinks, right? Anyway, oh my God. TikTok unsubscribed you from me. That's not very good. That's really weird and scary, Nicola. Huh. Strange. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time here. Beep. I don't think I've got much else. I will read a quote here. I'm going to read a tweet that Elon Musk retweeted approvingly and said was true. Listen to this. Some guy writes, and Elon loves his little trolls on Twitter. Some guy writes on Twitter. Now, mind you, I'm going to read this to you, and you have to keep in mind what I'm reading to you, Elon Musk said true about what this guy just said. This guy claims Zelensky knows if the war ends, his power ends. Elections will resume and he'll lose. Then his adversary will investigate his money laundering and he'll be sent to prison. This is all BS, of course. Zelensky is sending innocent Ukrainians to die in his meat grinder so he can stay in power. He's a dictator, this guy claims. And Elon responds, true. Actually, not true, but this is how twisted Elon Musk has become. Elon then says, as distasteful as it is, Zelensky should be offered some kind of amnesty. Amnesty from what, right? Amnesty from what exactly? Who's going after? Like, no one's talking about it. There's no corruption that we know of. There's none, literally. Like Elon goes, I guess we have to offer him amnesty in a neutral, I missed this part. In a neutral country in exchange for a peaceful transition to democracy in Ukraine. So Elon is suggesting that, of course, Zelensky's going to have to go away because, by the way, who is it that says Zelensky has to quit? The Russians. The Russians have demanded for years that Zelensky has to go. Putin hates Zelensky. And Trump has joined on board. About a couple of weeks ago, Trump called Zelensky a dictator. Last week, Trump said Zelensky has to leave. He has to be gone from power. Now you've got Elon Musk saying that Zelensky has to step down. But note what Musk also said. Ukraine will be a neutral country. Elon Musk, who is, co-president of the United States right now, came out and claimed that already gave the concession to Russia that Ukraine will be a neutral country. Another big Russian demand. I mean, these guys, I don't know what's going on with these guys. First of all, no matter what your position, even if you think Ukraine should become, thank you, Colin, for subscribing. If you think Ukraine should be a neutral country, You don't just give that to the Russians before you negotiate. Like, that's something you negotiate over. You don't just give it to them. But the Trump administration has been giving the Russians things without a negotiation. I mean, they've already said they don't want troops. They don't want European troops there. Big Russian demand. No European troops. Thank you, Colin. Oh, again, for Colin. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mary. And what were the other ones? They don't want to give back any land, the Trump people said, to Ukraine. To Ukraine. The Russians don't give up any land. Big Russian demand not to give up land. I'm forgetting. They've said they want Ukraine to step down. Zelensky. Big Russian demand. Really amazing. Really amazing. Anyway. Yeah. That's it for the news today. Let's hang out and do our talk. That went a little long, but that's okay. I'm gonna sit back and put my phone down a little bit here. There we go. For you guys, I will move my pedestal. This part of the show, we sort of hang out and talk. So I am hanging and talking in my new Italian sweater from Benetton. Very cheap, but I love it. Sasha's good. She was very excited to see me last night. It was very cute. Oops, trying to turn this down. There we go. It was very cute and very sweet. She was very excited. So that was nice. This is my apartment. Yes. I am back in the U.S. Woo woo! Thank you. Saw it again, Helen. Anyway, I'm back. People got all freaked out that I was gone. I was only gone for a month and a half. A month and a half, a week and a half. And actually, well, I was still doing some video updates on TikTok and YouTube, and actually, I got some on Discord too for the paid subscribers. Just no offense, but I got to give stuff for the paid people to thank them. So, we can talk about the trip. Let's finish the news first, and then we can talk about the trip if you want. But questions? Hey, Sarah in Sweden. We did not sell Mom's house, but we are in the process. Somebody is interested, and we are doing the back and forth, but we've agreed on the price, which is great. So we're doing that back and forth stuff, trying to get to closing. So hopefully, if that happens in the next couple of weeks, it's done. So, and if it's not, we will try to sell it again. I still have all of Mom's table runners, yes, and placemats or whatever you call them. It was only a week. It was only 12 days, guys. So what else, guys? What else? And yes, Doug, you should be completely disgusted. I agree with you. Thank you for the little French potato, Marsha. You've seen military people on socials saying things are happening behind the scenes and to be prepared. I'm not sure what that means, Elias. I mean, look, I would say, thank you, Deep Blue. Thank you, Mouse, for subscribing. I would say with Trump, things are not happening behind the scenes. Things are happening in front of the scenes. He's doing everything we were afraid he was going to do, right? I don't think it's quite happening as a surprise, like, oh gosh, what's he doing? Now, he could be doing crazy things privately, but I think with Trump, what you see is what you get, right? He's going to do all the nasty stuff publicly. So, I hear you, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's going to be private. Thank you, Tonka. I wouldn't listen to whispers. Ex-general sent a letter to Congress. I did not see that. Harvard cap Harris. I don't know what that's about, BJ. Mind you, I'm just sort of catching up on my news. Well, I was watching news in Italy, but I'm really catching up on the last day. I did see the Saturday Night Live skit. It was great, Hellianne. And I thought, oh my God, Saturday Night Live is our big comedy show that's been going on for 50 years now. And there was Mike Myers, who's a really funny American comedian, was playing Elon Musk. And oh my God, he was doing a great Elon Musk. Oh my God. Jay is asking on YouTube. Thank you, Jay, for that, by the way. Do you think Europe could strike a deal with Ukraine and enter the war to retake land and exclude the U.S.? No. I mean, I think, he's Canadian. He's Canadian. That's right. I forgot about that. That's funny. I always forgot about that. I forgot about it. Well, did I say he's an American comedian? Right. He's a comedian. Sorry. But Saturday Night Live is an American comedy show. But, well, he's Canadian. We'll own him too next. We're taking Mike Myers too. Was that the shirt he was wearing? Canada's not for sale. That's funny. That's funny. He was so good. It was ridiculously good. Lord Michael's Canadian too. I did not know that. This is sorry. Oh, ugh. I've been doing good all day, but I'm my first day back. So, Italy is 6 hours ahead. So I'm doing pretty good, but I'm already getting a little like, woo, but I will be good. What else, guys? Talk a little more politics, and then I can talk about Italy a bit. And oh, I see what you're saying, Tonka. Let me take a look really quick. Tonka's mentioning the Budapest Memorandum and what we were talking about. Hold on. Budapest Memorandum, point 3. Let's see if I can actually find it. Refrain from economic coercion designed to subordinate to their own interest the exercise by Ukraine, the Republic of Belarus, and Kazakhstan of the rights inherent in their sovereignty and thus secure advantages of any kind. Yeah. Well, this is military coercion is what we're doing. We're not doing economic coercion on Ukraine, but we are doing military coercion. We're saying we're just going to cut off our aid unless you give us your economy by giving us your minerals. But we're not doing economic coercion. We're doing military blackmail. So maybe it doesn't apply, right? But it is military coercion. Absolutely. Absolutely. See, Andre. What else? Pedro, sorry guys. Tonight I get an excuse for yawning at you since I'm still on Italy time. Pedro asks, why all the pressure on Ukraine and no pressure on Russia? I mean, why do you think? Because you don't pressure your friends, you pressure your enemies, and we know who Trump's friends are, right? It's none of you, and it's all of Russia. Tired Guy asks on YouTube, thank you for that, Tired Guy. Now that it's been shown the U.S. can't be relied on, do you think that other NATO countries might start developing their own nuclear deterrent? I think other countries have to. One of the big lessons of the Ukraine war overall for developing countries, the big lesson for developing countries is you've got to get nuclear weapons or you're going to get pushed around, right? And if you've got nuclear weapons, don't ever give them up. That's the Ukraine gave up its weapons. We promised to protect them. We didn't protect them. That's the first point. The second point is the Europeans can no longer count on America's nuclear deterrent. The French and the Brits have got nukes. I don't know how many. I'm going to guess it's several hundred at best. Anybody know what the numbers are? The official public numbers of nuclear weapons? I can ask, Alexa, but my Alexa, as you well know, is not the smartest on the planet. Which one, Pav? Which country are we saying? Alexa, how many nuclear weapons does the United Kingdom have?
While the exact number of nuclear weapons the United Kingdom possesses is unknown, as of 2024, the Federation of American Scientists estimates that the UK owns roughly 225 nuclear warheads.
Oh, 225, it's saying, is the public estimate. Interesting. France 290. Harvey is saying France 290, Britain 225. That means around 500 nuclear weapons between France and Britain combined. The U.S. has like 5,000, but a lot of them are, I think they're mothballed. I forget if our working number is like 1,500 or 2,000. I forget the number, but I mean, our total number might be more like 5,000. I think that the Russians may have 6,000, more or less. So, the Brits and the French probably need more. China, you're saying China 300. I thought China was already up to 12 or 1,500. Aren't they, Jeremy? I thought China was already up to around 15. I thought. I may be wrong on this, but I thought that was the number for China. Not just 300. But the question becomes that Europe can no longer count on America's nuclear deterrent. They may need to get their own. Having said that, Max just said one is enough to destroy the world. I'm not sure if one is enough to destroy the world, but, what you need is enough China 500. Okay. I thought it was more than that. You need enough nuclear weapons you need to have enough nuclear weapons that are guaranteed to survive an attack so that no one would attack you because they would be afraid of you responding with your nukes. This typically means nuclear weapons, especially at sea in submarines, because submarines are very hard to track and to find. Thank you, Becky. So if it's hard for the Russians to find British and French nuclear weapons on submarines, it makes it less likely that Russia will use nuclear weapons on the Brits and the French because, they could hit them back. The problem is you can no longer count on America to come to your aid in Europe. Your aid militarily overall, our nuclear umbrella no longer applies. It may not. Under Democrats, it will. Under Republicans, you may not have our nuclear umbrella either. I think absolutely positively Europe should develop more nuclear weapons. And I would also say, Poland, other European powers probably should develop nuclear weapons. And it's really too bad to have to say that. But I think there's no choice now. Ukraine showed you what happens when you border the Russians and you don't have nuclear weapons. It's very bad. Iran, A, we should not let Iran get nuclear weapons. B, if I were Iran, I would get nuclear weapons so fast it would make your head spin. That is the lesson of Ukraine, and it is also the lesson of the Trump administration. You can no longer trust the American administration, period. And that is an obvious, if anything, I'm telling you something blatantly obvious to anybody who knows international affairs. It's sad and it's bad that this is where we are, but this is what the war in Ukraine has led us to, and this is what Donald Trump has also led us to. It's both. It's Trump and Biden too, because Biden and the French and the Germans didn't want Ukraine to win. So we made sure Ukraine didn't win. Well, by Ukraine not winning, you've made clear that why countries need nuclear weapons. So that's very bad. It's very bad. But Biden deserves it too, but so does Trump. And so do the French and the Brits. Arctic says less fallout from nuclear weapons today. Yay! I guess. Yay! Very scary. Yep, I saw that about the Tridents. I'm not sure, John, why you're mentioning that they're MIRVed. Well, you say 12 independently targeted warheads. Do you mean 12, or do you mean each missile can carry 12 warheads, that it's MIRVed? Which do you mean? Although I'm not quite sure why you're mentioning that, or just mentioning it as a fact. It's just a point to mention. Yeah, Bert says, I can guarantee you the smart people in Australia do not trust America and want America out. You shouldn't trust us. Again, it is unfortunate. Under Democrats, you can trust us at this point. Under Republicans, you cannot. And that is something I would have never said before Donald Trump. You could trust the Republican Party on national security before Donald Trump. Now I would not trust them. It's very sad. What else, guys? You have a sister in Australia? Cool. The UK, what do we say? The UK has 225, at least publicly acknowledged or so, Harvey was saying. The French have 290, or am I reversing that, Harvey? Was that the number? I'm going to try to scroll. Oh, there we go. Harvey said UK 225 nuclear weapons, France 290 nuclear weapons. Yep. Oh, la, 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 la. Canada doesn't have any. Honestly, Canada too. Guys, I got to tell you, across the board, you need your own nukes. And it really is terrible to have to say that, because I think it's very dangerous, the more countries that have nukes. But no one should trust us anymore. Yeah. Now, nuclear weapons, here's the only thing. Nuclear weapons are only a deterrent if the other guy thinks you're going to use them. So like Russia, what was I reading the other day that I thought was fascinating? I was reading somebody talking about what the Russians would do to the Brits. Oh, I know what it was. That guy, who's that guy? He's kind of like a gay, he's gay. I don't think he's a gay actor. He's gay. Oh God, Owen something. He's like a gay, super far left, kind of pro-Russia, I would argue, anti-Ukraine guy. What's his name? Owen something. He's like a big activist type in the UK, but he's super far left, like crazy far. Owen Jones, thank you. And he made some stupid comment about how, something like the UK could never be threatened or by Russia, or what are they going to do? They're not going to, if Russia isn't going to nuke us, so we're fine. Something like that. And the response to him was brilliant by somebody who said, well, actually, you're right. Russia won't nuke you. What Russia's going to do is first they're going to cut your communications cables. Then they're going to I forgot. They mentioned Owen Jones. They mentioned everything. First, they're going to cut your communications cables. Then they're going to go and do cyber attacks. But you're not going to know who did the communications cables, and you're not going to know who did the cyber attacks. And then the cyber attacks are going to take down your electrical grid, and you won't have power, but you're not going to know who did it. And then they're going to shut down your banking system, but you're not going to know who did it. Right? If you have nuclear plants, take those offline, but you're not going to know who did it. And then you're going to have mysterious drones invading your cities, and the drones are going to start bombing things and exploding things, but you're not going to know who did it. And then they said you're going to have bombs going off in your cities, and you're going to have terrorist attacks, but of course you're not going to know who did it. He said, right. He said, Russia. He goes, then you're going to have Russian planes violating your airspace and buzzing and flying over your cities. But at that point, none of those steps is enough for you to go nuclear, because if you go nuclear, Russians will go nuclear on you, right? So the nuclear weapons are helpful, but in a way, sometimes they're not, because they're only helpful if a country thinks you're going to use them in response. But the Russians know you're not going to use a nuclear weapon in response to Russia taking down your power grid, right? Taking down your banking system, cutting your communications cables, right? All those kind of stuff. It's even, like I said, even bombs going off. I mean, A, you can't prove it's the Russians. B, what if you could? What if you could prove it was the Russians? The Russians, let's say the Russians launch terrorist attacks in London and Britain's top cities, and they blow up bombs in department stores, and we know it's the Russians. Are you going to nuke Moscow in response? Of course not, right? Because if you nuke Moscow, they nuke London. So, I mean, you get into a weird situation with nuclear weapons that I think they're useful. They're useful for stopping the other guy from using nukes, but that's about it, right? Now, the funny thing is, Russia, on the other hand, has been able to psych us out. So we're like, oh my God, if we give Ukraine tanks, Russia's going to use nukes, right? So we didn't give them tanks for like a year and a half. Oh my God, if we give Ukraine Patriot missiles, Russia's going to use nukes. And we let them get in our heads and assume that in response to a conventional just support of weapons, Russia would use nukes in response. Whereas we know we would never use nukes, right? So that, I mean, nukes are useful in stopping the other country from nuking you because they don't want you to nuke them back. But otherwise, I'm not sure how helpful they really are. You know? Ireland. Yeah. Well, the UK, that's a whole other story. The UK protects Ireland. The Irish are another group who really need to get, put their big boy and big girl hats on and start figuring out a defense of their own country. Because the Irish, I'm no offense, guys, I love you Irish people, but your government likes to talk real tough, like pushing everybody else around when you spend nothing on defense, and it's sort of like, I mean, you have the luxury of complaining because the Americans and the Brits protect you. The Brits especially protect you. And it gives you the luxury of, being all anti-military and everything because you've got the British military. And if you didn't have the British military, you'd be in real trouble. Well, it's a good point. Arctic says the Salisbury attack was a blatant Russian poisoning on UK soil. Yeah. I was reading, it's the anniversary was yesterday, maybe, of the poisoning. And that the amount of poison the Russians used could have killed like thousands of Brits or something. It was like a crazy quantity that they used. And they got away with it, The Irish are nice people, but, the country has no national defense and it mooches off the Brits. I mean, it's like, what do you do? Oops. Boom. Oh, man. Sweden researched nukes until the 1950s. That's interesting. It's too bad, but I really do think, unfortunately, a lot of countries are going to have to develop nukes. I hope it's our friends and not our enemies who do it, but, jamming the GPS on the planes. We know that. Another Russian fell out a window. You're kidding, Jordan. I did not see that. Ugh. Yeah, a lot of Putin's foes fall out windows in Russia. It's very bad. I don't like siding with Putin, but our government does, clearly. What else? Ireland does have a battalion in the army, Paula says. Okay, good for them. All right. Good for them. The throne speech? You mean like the king's speech or what? What else, guys? What else? I am not married, Brian. No. Single. Happy to be married, but no one's put a ring on me yet. So, what else, guys? Oops, sorry. Discord. I want to forget you guys there. All right. You're ready to mingle. Exactly. I am not getting facts wrong, user 803, but that's okay. Thank you, Jim. Have I worked in traditional media? In a way. I mean, I was a stringer for The Economist for a while. That was my one traditional media job. So thank you, Tom. Which, I mean, counts. It's The Economist magazine. So, it's a good publication, but that's only really that once. Otherwise, I've never been in traditional. I mean, I haven't been in traditional media, but I was a stringer for them. So, first date. I thought you were married, Gunther. First date. I guess not. Do you when you go on first date, you have to say, what's your feeling on chicken? Eating it? No. Raising it. I've been on CNN, Brian, but I haven't been on CNN in years. I used to go 20 years ago. I was on CNN all the time. Actually, there's still some videos floating around there somewhere, I'm sure. But what else, guys? Stock market went down today because Trump's tariffs. Yep, that's a concern. What else? The throne speech from King Charles, but when the Prime Minister writes it, Governor General reads it. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. I know. I thought Gunther was married. I'm confused. See, even Dawn goes, Gunther single? We're very confused here. Divorcee 8 years ago. Oh, but it's 8 years ago, though. Okay. I like that. He got pineapple on his pizza. I think you should not judge someone for pineapple or their pizza, or that would be a red flag on you. I would say you may have an opinion on pineapple on pizza, but I wouldn't judge a date on it. No. I do not think Trump is tanking the stock market on purpose, because actually Trump cares very much about the stock market. He thinks it reflects on him and all this kind of stuff. Eve can't talk about that topic because TikTok doesn't like it. YouTube may not too, but TikTok really doesn't like that topic. So I don't want to risk talking about it. No offense. And it brings a lot of trolls in too when we talk about it. So, but yeah, the stock market in the US is now below the level when Trump took office. Or actually, I think below the level, it might be below the level when Trump was elected, because the stock market took off after he was elected and now it's crashed. He's kind of done a very bad job on that front. Thank you, Nicholas, for the hearts. What else? I did make some more bread. So my first day back, I've now got a healthy loaf of bread with some chia in it. Some chia. Kia is the car, I think. Some chia in it. Thank you, Slyn. Thank you, Teresa. Or Slyn. Slyn, I'm calling you. Slyn, I'm going to guess. Yeah, Tesla stock not doing well. Tesla stock is now down 27% in the last month. Oops. As somebody said, see, this is what happens when a federal worker refuses to show up at his job, at his real job. His company drops 27%. I mean, oh no, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. Well, Manana says, I'm not sure Trump won't use nukes. I think Trump would gladly use nukes. Thank you, Annie. He, during his first term, asked about the possibility of the U.S. nuking hurricanes. Trump thought maybe that would be a good way to stop hurricanes, just nuking them. So I think absolutely Trump would use nukes on lots of things in lots of countries. I'm not convinced Trump will use nukes to defend our allies. That's a different thing, right? I'm not at all convinced he would use nukes to defend our allies. He'll use nukes to defend he might use nukes to defend Russia. He might nuke a hurricane, because he did talk about that, right? But I don't know. I haven't seen the latest WC on the GDP predictions for the US. Harvey says 3 of the major political parties in the UK, Labour, Conservative, and Liberal Democrats, are urging the Prime Minister to cancel Trump's state visit and banquet at Windsor Castle with the King. This would be the first time this has ever happened. The Prime Minister invited him the day before Trump and Zelensky was, that's true, kicked out of the White House. That's true. Now, interesting question. Wait, The Labor and the Conservatives have called on the prime minister, his own party. How does the party do that though? Is that a do you just vote in the party? And if the majority says it, it's like you're, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work exactly? It's not like the party leaders have, because the party leader of the Labor is the current government, right? You know what I mean? I mean, I know the party and the government are separate, but, well, I guess I shouldn't say I know that. Okay. Okay. So you've got like a party. Yeah. If you're not aligned a government job, you can be part of the party, but not the government. I don't know what that means. They're called backbench MPs. I mean, you mean like the shadow cabinet or whatever, or what? If you're not aligned to government, okay, you wrote that wrong, Harvey. Sorry. If you're not assigned a government job, I'm sorry, you can be part of the party, but not the government. That's a little confusing. Okay, a little confused, but that's okay. Personally, I'm fine, Maxime. I mean, you know, a little sad that I'm back in the States, honestly, because I love Europe. Every time I go abroad, I remember how much I like traveling. I mean, Italy was so much fun. And my Italian came back wonderfully. It was so much. I was talking to everybody, you know me. Blah, blah, blah. It was so much fun speaking Italian. I had so much fun. And then France, I was in the French airport for like an hour and a half, actually. And I ran to all the stores and it was just like blah, 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 speaking French for an hour and a half. I studied a lot of languages and it's one of the things I'm really into. It was so much fun. So what do you do? But I do. I love talking to people. It's so interesting. And, you know, I've been to Greece many times, Simply Live. Yes. Not for several years, but I've been to Greece maybe 5 times, I think, maybe. But I just so love Europe. You know, the food I bought. Oh, I have to show you. This cracked me up. So I go to one of the local grocery stores. Actually, it was the Carrefour Express, but one of the grocery stores in Italy. And I see this and I'm like, oh my God. So it's, of course, Parmesan Reggiano, which is it's the best Parmesan that exists. And this is about a half a kilo. So about a pound and 1.2 pounds maybe. And I'm looking at the price and the price is okay. The price in euros is like 19 euros a kilo. In pounds, that would be like $9 a pound. And I'm like, $9 a pound? That's amazing. In the US, you know, you might be looking at $18 to $20 a pound. And this is $9, half the price. So I go to the checkout and I even told the lady, because I chat with everybody. So I'm telling the lady at the checkout, I said, I'm so excited. I bought the 2 most important things to bring back to America. I brought pesto for a friend of mine. And I said, and Parmigiano Reggiano for myself. And I said, and it's so much cheaper here. And she goes, how much is it in America? And I said, well, you know, I did the calculation in euros, but in dollars, I told her it's like $9 a pound here, but in America, it's like $20 a pound. And she goes, what my favorite was, because it's Italian, and this is in Rome. She goes, oh, it's on sale. I got a cold when I was there. Sorry, I got a cold. But she goes, oh, which is like out of The Sopranos. And they say that like in Southern Italy. They go, oh, like she goes, what are you talking about? She goes, it's on sale. It's not $9 a pound. It's $6 a pound. This offerta was sale. This damn thing was $6 a pound for Parmigiano Reggiano. It's $18 to $20 easily at my grocery store across the street, a big chain grocery store. 1/3 the price. So I bought a pound of it and I'm very excited. I can even smell it through the wrapper. I'm so excited. You know, I must admit, now that my luggage was 4 pounds light, I should have bought more luggage. I'm very upset. I know, Ash, I should have brought you some, but I should have bought more. I mean, I thought it was $9 a pound. I was like, $6 a pound? I know I should have I was afraid about my luggage being heavy. So I bought one, because I can buy it here. It's just so expensive. I don't buy it. Once it was on sale for like $9. I don't know what it was, $10, $9, $10 a pound or something here. And I bought it and went crazy. No, customs was good about it. Customs, I was surprised, but customs was okay. Yeah. So Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, $6 a pound for Parmesan. I mean, on sale. Okay. The regular price is $9 a pound. I mean, come on. You know, like, oh my God. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Um, so yes, I was very excited. But yes, I had I got that cold when I was there, but it affected my chest, but it didn't make me tired, thank God. So I just kept taking, going out all day. And what do you do? In the fridge, it'll last okay in the fridge. I end up freezing it because it does fine in the freezer. It crumbles, but it's already crumbly. And I use it in sauces or on spaghetti or whatever. So it works fine. No bird flu. No, I doubt it's the bird flu. Would I choose the US to Europe for the wedding? Let's put it this way. I have not been to Iceland. No, I would love to go to Iceland. Thank you, D. Ryan. Well, the haircut's the same haircut. It's just getting longer. So maybe it's behaving more now. This trip to Italy, I was just in Italy for a week and a half, reminded me about I know I love Europe, but it reminded me how much I love living abroad. It made me very sad, actually, because I don't want to live here anymore. Not for now. I've always wanted to live in Europe, and it just reminded me how much I want to live in Europe. Now, that can be its own thing, because as an American or any country, it's hard to live in another country, because the cultures are so different that you love visiting, but living there can be a real pain. Nonetheless, Italy, I like Italians. They're fun. Southern Italians are a little more fun, but Northern Italians are, I guess they're not Northern Italians in Florence, but still, but Italians are fun. And the French, I'm telling you, I had so much fun just for my hour and a half in Paris and in the airport. And even the woman at the glass, she goes, "Your French is very good." I was like, "Thank you." Because I haven't spoken French really in 10 years, other than with you guys. I can't just show off occasionally. But anyway. Inflation, I don't know. I don't know how the economies are doing overall in Europe. South Tyrol? I know the name. Where the hell is that? Oh, that's that's in Italy. Yeah, but isn't that near the part of the northern areas near Austria and stuff? Austria, yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. Wait, but is that in Austria or is that in Italy? I remember it being up there. Thank you, Disco Dave. Austrian-Italian border. Okay. Austrian part of Italy. The Austrian part, right? I've never been there. No. Oh, Tyrol is in Austria. What? So is South Tyrol, Italy? Thank you, Teresa. Oh, God, I don't know. Nolan says, what would you say is the major difference between Europe and the US? I don't know. God. I mean, I think... the age, maybe. Thank you, Tony. France, but Italy more than France even. Walking around and seeing so much of Italy, especially. Thank you, Kales. I'm never going to know how to pronounce your name, Kales, on YouTube. You walk around Italy, and for Italy, Rome especially, there's archaeology everywhere. Every block, practically, there's something sticking out of the ground. And a lot of it is because there's so much they find. A lot of it is just sitting there, not even dug up. And that's the first thing you see everywhere that you don't obviously see in the US. The second thing is the buildings. Florence has too many tourists. It always has. And I've been to Florence. I went again for a day trip last week. I hated it because of all the tourists. And I mean, literally, I hated Florence. Florence is wonderful, but I hated it. But having said that, you walk through these streets, and just a regular walk through Florence has so many beautiful old buildings from like the 1400s and stuff. And you just are looking at this and you're going, people live like this. People live walking down next to these buildings from 1300s and 1400s that are beautiful, that we just don't have that here. Greece doesn't really have that. I mean, Italy does. France does in Paris. Paris is a little different. Actually, France may not have a lot of 1300s. France has got like Paris, which is more 1800s, but still very amazing. But to me, I think I think maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say like the biggest difference between the US and Europe. I don't know. Greece has the Parthenon and old archaeology. Greece does not have old current buildings that you live in that go back 600 years. I mean, not very, maybe there's some somewhere I've never heard of, but it's not very prevalent. Let's put it that way. Whereas in Italy, you go, is anybody living in a building that's 600 years old? And they're going to go, are you kidding? Like, I mean, are you kidding? That's all over Italy, right? I mean, I remember being in Rome and years ago in Rome and some of the doorways, and there was like an old doorway in Rome that had some of the original old like marble as the top part of the doorway, but it was part of the original marble from the Roman era, right? From the Roman era. It's amazing. No, it's so impressive. I didn't go to Pisa only because I was kind of like feeling like Pisa might be just kind of too much of a tourist trap. I'm going to go and look at a building that's leaning sideways. I mean, I'm sure it's cool, but you know what I mean? I just wasn't convinced. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, I love visiting Europe. I just like meeting people from all over the world. I've always enjoyed that. And like I said, I'm into the languages thing. It's just so much fun. Yeah, I'm sure Jerusalem would be amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of felt Pisa was going to be a tourist trap. Florence is definitely a tourist trap, sadly. Beautiful building, but horrible. A beautiful city, but horrible tourism. Rome is sadly getting there, even though Rome is my favorite. I've never been to French Polynesia. No, I'd love to go. Would I buy a whole cheese wheel and make pasta in it? Oh, I know. I've seen those videos. I forget what they call that. They take like the middle of the Parmesan cheese wheel and then put the hot pasta in and rotate it around. It's very cool. I probably couldn't afford to buy that much Parmesan, but I would love it. My Italian friends, when I was growing up and visiting them growing up, like I was 21 or whatever, visiting Italy or 19, and their mother, they basically had a huge block of Parmesan and they bought prosciutto. They bought their own like legs of prosciutto or whatever prosciutto is with the bone and their own meat slicer. And they would keep the prosciutto and slice their own prosciutto every night for dinner. I was like, oh my God, amazing. So, yeah, no, it was good. Good food, good times to be had by all. If $7,000 were deposited in my Cash App or PayPal, what would I use it for? Honestly, I'd probably save it. I mean, okay, put it this way. If somebody said, I'm only going to give you 7,000 if you spend it. Okay. And let's put aside, world hunger, right? Forget that stuff. I'm going to give you 7,000, but you have to spend it on something frivolous, so to speak, meaning, God, I would probably say a trip. The problem is right now it's a little hard to travel because, Sasha is still alive. She's needy. She's still healthy, my dog, but she's 15 and a half. Damien watched her, but I felt kind of bad because it's hard for somebody to watch her because she's a little needy. Like you can't leave her alone 9 hours at a time if you're working. So putting that aside, I would do more traveling. I would absolutely spend it on more travel. Yes. That would be the big thing. I mean, if you said you've got to spend it $7,000 and it's got to be something fun. It can't be I'm curing world hunger or I'm, whatever. I'm paying off my bill. Even for Ashley, no paying off your bills. It has to be something frivolous and fun. Buying a wheel of Parmesan and a leg of prosciutto. That more sunglasses, but well, that's another possibility too. I don't know. I don't know. That's tough. Yeah. Do you get negativity for being American? In Italy, no. In France, that's a good question. Thank you, Farica. Thank you, Dragonfly. I mean, when I was in France, when Bush was president, the son, so 2000s, and I would tell, I speak French. I speak French very well. And they were always very impressed. They're like, oh, where are you from? I said, American. They're like, oh, you're American. They would literally go, oh, and then they would stop. And I'd look at them and I'd go, but I didn't vote for Bush. And they'd go, okay. So in France, it was always very weird. Italy, certainly that was not a reaction from anybody. No reactions actually from the Italians, other than friendly on me being American. They would ask, like, where are you from? Like I'd speak Italian to them and they'd hear an accent but they weren't quite sure. And I'd say American. They'd be like, oh, but you know, anyway, Italy's so nice. So freaking nice. Spent it all in Vegas. I would not do that. I don't remember. I think I may have driven to Lake Como when I was a kid. I don't remember anymore. They filmed Star Wars on Lake Como. I didn't know that. That's funny. I would not be surprised though if people, I mean, again, when Bush was president, it was difficult being American traveling. I would literally, like I said, in France, I would just tell people, I'd be like, I'm American, but I didn't vote for Bush. And they'd go, oh, okay. and I would be happy to say the same thing about Trump. Happy to, because I think it's embarrassing. And rightfully so. Everyone in Germany asks questions of why. They're good questions. I remember, I was telling this Italian kid I met on the bus. Also kind of nice because it was funny. Italy. People, although he's from Rome, which explains it, gets on the bus, sits at a college student, probably college student, gets on the bus, maybe graduate student, gets on the bus and sits next to me and goes, wow, this bus is crowded, huh? And I was like, yeah. And we just started talking. But it was the funniest thing because that's like what a Midwesterner would do. And for us, where you just start talking to strangers. We switched into English because his English was so good. And we had a long discussion about politics. But I was telling him about how, for Americans, we sort of look at like the history of fascism and other stuff in Europe and go, well, of course, they've got that neo-fascist party in Germany and a little bit in the UK, the far right, and certainly in France. But that's because that's you guys. You guys have a history of that. You're not like us, right? We don't have a history of fascism in America, and we like to think we're more developed in a way than the Europeans because like our system of government was created last among all of us. Well, I mean, the French kind of, but not really. I mean, in a way, the French democracy goes a little after us, but nonetheless, right? Like we like to think our history is shorter, but also we started at a more developed phase. So we didn't have all the baggage of history before that Europeans have, right? And if you go to Greece, you've got even more baggage, or Italy, even to some degree, right? You've got a lot of historical baggage that's keeping you back a little bit. America, we're fresh. Americans used to think that way. And I told him, I said, what's weird for me as an American now with Trump is looking at Europe and realizing, my dog she's making little snoring. She's making little snoring noises. She's sleep barking. It's not snoring. She's I don't know if you can hear that. She was sleep bark. She was dreaming and doing the bark they do when they're asleep. Dogs will do this bark, but the mouth is shut. So they go, because they're barking, but their mouth is shut. It's really cute. That was very cute. That was very cute. But in any case, yeah. So I was explaining to him that as an American, it's interesting to see this happening with Trump because it explains a lot to me about, as an American, we would always say, you Europeans, how did you let Mussolini come to power? Italians. You Germans, how did you let that bad guy come to power? You know what I mean? Even Jews, you could say, some people have said, why didn't they fight back? And you look at what's happening in America today, and I told him, I said, the best answer I've got is we don't know what the F to do. The media doesn't know what to do. We don't know what to do. I said, it's not the frog boiling slowly. The water's boiling already. And we're all going, right? And so as an American, not only has it been an eye-opener as to how could you Europeans let those bad governments take over in the 1930s or whatever, right? But it's also, we get how you could let them take over because you don't know, you don't know what the hell to do. It's shocking, really. Anyway, we're not going to go too much. Oh my God, it's 7:50. Geez, I didn't know it was that late. But people called asking what to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. Americans have no culture. Americans have a culture. We got a culture. We've definitely got a culture. I mean, I think anybody who visits America knows that. This country, I think this is a great country, but right now it's going down the toilet fast, and we may not come back from it. That's the problem. But I've never accepted the concept, oh, Americans don't have a culture. Of course we do. A lot of us do. But our culture is a mixture of cultures, though. Look at our holidays, and like I said, Christmas alone, my God, the amount of culture we've got surrounding Christmas. But our culture is a mixture of cultures. My culture is Greek and American, right? It's a little different that way. Now, Europe is becoming that way now. That was the other thing too. Boy, the immigration in Italy. Ooh. I mean, I hadn't been to Italy in so long. There are a lot of immigrants there. Whatever migrants, whatever you want to call them, it was a little bit of a shock. JD Vance, of course, is an idiot don't forget him talking about it. But, you took countries that were monotheistic and mono-ethnic, mostly, for the most part. They weren't mono, but they are mono, 98% or whatever. And you suddenly made them like the US, where you have huge percentages of people of other ethnicities and other religions. Well, in America, we've been that way from the beginning. The MAGA people don't like it, but America's always been a mix of races and religions and ethnicities, right? Italy wasn't. Greece wasn't. Sweden wasn't. France wasn't. And now suddenly, you had some, right, with the EU and everything else. But now that kind of blew my mind. It was a little weird. Like the number of Bangladeshis selling stuff in Rome was a little shocking to me. I was sort of like, and they're kind of everywhere, and it's really annoying. It was very surprising to me. But breaking news, Pete Buttigieg met with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to talk about a bid to run for the Senate in Michigan. Will announce in the coming days. Oh, that's good. We like him. That's good. Yay. Very glad about that. London. I told you my London story. When I was in London 18 years ago, I was in London on 7/7 of all things, 18 years ago. And people had said, oh yeah, well, first we had to go eat Indian. I was like, oh God, okay, fine. I can't stand it. No offense. I just don't like Indian food. But they said, oh yeah, here's the address. Take the tube. Take the tube. It gets off 2 blocks away, and just ask some, because back then, 2007, we were just getting the iPhone. So we didn't have maps or anything, right? And so in a foreign country, it was still not easy getting around. And they said, oh yeah, just get off the train and ask anybody where this is. They'll know. So I get off the train, and in London in 2007, I am asking people on the street for directions, and I can't find anybody who speaks English. Not only can I not find anybody who lives there, but I can't find anybody who speaks English. And it was crazy. And finally, I started asking people, and I finally found I'm starting to like, what do you call it? Like profile people by the way they're dressed. I'm trying to find somebody who's English. And finally, I walk up to this one guy, and I said, and I think, I don't recall if I said, excuse me, do you speak English? Or if I said, excuse me, are you English? And I can't remember which one. I think it was, are you English? But it might have been, do you speak English, which is even worse. But I remember him stopping and going, yes. Because it was like, why are you in London? Can you imagine somebody walking up to you in the US and going, excuse me, are you American? You'd be like, yeah. Well, I laughed, said, oh my God, thank you. I said, I'm trying to get directions to this restaurant, and I've been trying for 10 minutes, and I literally can't find anybody who's from here. That was very weird. And that was 2007. And that was already very strange. That is when, and that was 2000, a long time ago. That is when you've got warning bells a little bit about immigration. When stuff like that starts happening, you go, and frankly, it's tourists too. Like Florence with tourists. Good luck finding an Italian in Florence. That's a little too much. That's a little too much. Yeah, London's probably who knows? London might even bother me too now, because I don't know. Having a massive influx in tourists is not a fun thing. Like I said, Florence, I will hopefully never go back to Florence. It is a beautiful city. If you haven't been once, you probably have to go. It's pretty awful. I mean, I will never. I went to Florence for 4 hours. I was so sickened by the number of tourists. I went for 4 hours and I left because I was like, I can't do this. I was going to go for a whole day. You know, I don't like crowds at all. I really don't like crowds, but it was horrific. I mean, it was horrific. Florence has always been bad, by the way, but it's so much worse now. Rome was pretty bad though, which was too bad. I mean, we went to, this church, San Clemente or whatever, which is this wonderful church that's like a 1100, the year 1100 church on top, like a 400 or 500 AD church in the middle, like underground, they've discovered. And under that, they dug up a pagan temple from like the year 100, or no, the year maybe 200, and a Roman home from like the year 100. So like these three levels, 1100 year, the year 1100 church, year 400 church, and a pagan temple from like 200 and a Roman home from 100. Amazing. And when I went 25 years ago, it was me and another guy who I didn't know, who were, you pay and you go down and look around. I remember being alone in the pagan temple area, and I was so terrified because you're underground like 20 feet. The walls are stone. The lighting is not very strong, and you're sitting in a pagan temple from 2,000 years ago, and there's no one else on this floor except you. It was terrifying. Well, now our tickets had to be numbered because there's so many people. So we were the 12:30 slot, and there's a 1 o'clock slot and a 1:30 slot. There were so many people there. You had to like get in line to like look in the pagan temple. They closed off the pagan temple. I vaguely remember being able to step inside it when I was there. I think we did. And you can't step in anymore, but it's also now, there must've been 20 other people with us in the area. And the lighting is very good, which I guess is better. It was creepier when the lighting was bad, but even my little church, no one knew about San Clemente. And like I said, I was the only guy there. And now there are so many tourists that they've got to give out time slots, that I feel like, my mom being from another generation, looking back and like telling my nephew, I was like, you have no idea what it was like, Now I will say this, if you go to Italy, I'm going to sign off, guys. We've been doing this for 2 hours. If you go to Italy, you see Trajan's Market, which is across the street from the Roman Forum, you can actually go and visit the ruins by going through the museum. So, and we went to the museum, spent almost no time in the museum, and walked outside to the ruins, and you can walk amongst the ruins, which I didn't know. For 25 years, I've loved Trajan's Market, 25, 40 years, and never, and I always thought, God, there's a boardwalk you can see, and it's really cool, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool to walk down there? You can walk, not in all of it, but you can walk down there in some of it through the museum. So, and there was nobody there. So that was pretty cool. I mean, to be able to, I will like pull up one of my pictures of that, but that was neat because, and my nephew and his wife loved it because it gives you the sense of old Rome, so to speak, where you used to be able to go and you could walk around and you didn't have the tourists. Again, what do you do? I mean, tourists are tourists. I mean, what are you going to do? Right. I mean, they need their tourism. Where was this? I'm trying to find like a representative photo of the area here. Oh, come on, dog. Well, actually, I mean, I will show you some travel photos just for fun, but this was the upper level of the area, which was very cool at night. And we're on the building, and the upper level and lower level. This was, they were offices and different kind of things, but in Trajan's era, so like 2,000 years before or so. Oh, and this gives you a sense of the area below. Oh, I'm still doing my Italian. The area below, you can at least walk all along here on the bottom level, which is pretty cool. Reiko and Anthony it was raining, which was not fun, but this gives you a sense of how close you can get to the ruins, though. These ruins, you're literally walking amongst the ruins, which is really neat. That was the best part, because they were actually able to go. And I mean, again, this gives you I'll stop showing after this gives you the idea, because you're literally able to walk among the ruins, which is so cool, and walk up to all these little areas. So that was really neat. Anyway, lots of it's just insane. And again, this is almost an insignificant ruin in a way. I don't want to say insignificant, but this isn't even the cool stuff. This is just, some of the good stuff, but not the coolest stuff. Trying to think. There's so much. Hold on. Actually, I ought to do a different time the view from the plane was wild too, because the view from the plane, we flew over the Alps, and you're looking out your plane window and all of a sudden the Alps are coming up. And I will tell you this, I've skied in the Alps, but I've been to the Alps when I was a kid, and it was still breathtaking flying over them, because this is out my plane window. You're looking out your plane window and you're going, oh my God. That's the wing of my plane, and this is the view with the mountains. It's just stunning. So that was pretty. Oh, this is the video I took. Actually, I thought it was a plane. This was my video. Yeah. Although this was the lesser developed part of the. Oh no, this is the mountains though. Yeah, it's pretty good though. Yeah, these are the Italian Alps. They could be the French Alps too at this point. It's possible. I don't know if these could have been France at this point. Hard to tell exactly. Because you're in the plane. This was a lesser plane. It didn't have the it didn't have all the it didn't have the screen you can watch where you are. This is the Pantheon, which is a wonderful 2,000-year-old building in Rome. It has the beehive roof on it that supports it, which is very cool. My favorite part about this is that it says, and I don't speak Latin, but I know from reading on it, it says Magripa, LF, whatever that is, Costertium fecit, which basically means Magripa made this. He signed it 2,000 years ago, which I think is the funniest thing. I've always loved that it says Magripa made this at the top. That's the plaza that it's in, which is just a lovely plaza. And this is, across the other side, the plaza that it's in has this fountain in it, which is just stunning as well. Now, there weren't as many tourists that day, but guys, around the fountain, these are buildings people live in. These are people's homes, and this is the fountain across the street from their homes. It's insane. Italy is just one of the most remarkable places. I'm trying to see again. I've got too much I could show you. All of our pasta. Just lots of the different ruins. Yeah, it was us at a restaurant, me with my nephew and his wife. Walking around this was actually just a shot of the Roman Forum, but I caught a bird going by that was very cool. These were all shots in the Roman Forum. Oh, that's a panorama. This is, the live. Now, you can still get around the tourists because it's so big, which is good, but this is the Roman Forum, which is just insane. Look at the expanse of this thing. This is all downtown ancient Rome, and it's all excavated. Now, if you zoom in, you can see that there's packs of people everywhere. There's just crowds. It's not terrible, but it's pretty crowded. Not terrible, but there's large numbers, actually over here, this was actually very cool. I never realized when you go by some of the old temples, the arch, right next to the arch, this area with the brick has some steps on it. This is the platform that, I'll go bigger here. This was the platform that Mark Antony gave the speech about Caesar's death when they murdered Caesar. And Shakespeare, of course, probably wrote it his own way. But Shakespeare's speech, the way Shakespeare wrote it was Mark Antony speaking about Caesar being killed and saying, Caesar, saying all these good things about Caesar, but Brutus says he wasn't, but Brutus says he was a dictator, and Brutus is an honorable man. And Mark Antony's speech apparently got people so upset that they started, because of Caesar's death, that they started rioting in the town. But that was really cool. Also very neat here is this building in the Roman Forum right here. This is the building where they cremated, or the location where they cremated Caesar, his body, which is very cool. The Roman Senate is here. The old Roman Senate was in this building, but this is not the Roman Senate where Caesar was killed. That's a different Roman Senate. But, it's just, it's insane. This was a big building that was a legal building. This was something Castor and Pollux. This was like this Vestal Virgin area. Rome is insanely beautiful, insanely. There's archaeology on every freaking street corner. We went, where was the evening shots? I want to find really quick at the Largo Argentino, which I love. One of my favorite places in Rome is Torre di Largo Argentino or something like that. And it is these are the ruins where Caesar was killed. The Roman Senate was near here. It was probably in the buildings. This is, again, look at these ruins and look at how close they are to the buildings. The buildings surround them. They found the ruins in the middle of the plaza. So now the plaza is ruins. The entire plaza is ruins now. Better shot of the plaza. I'll get closer. You guys can see. Julius Caesar. This is where Julius Caesar was murdered, was assassinated. Julius Caesar. And they believe the Senate was actually in one of these restaurants back here, one of these buildings, because at least this was a story I was told 25 years ago or 40 years ago. If you have dinner in one of these restaurants in the basement, they still have one of the columns from the original Senate where Caesar was killed. But this is, as I said, this is Torre di Largo Argentino. It's, here you go, actually. This is just a quick little video I did of it. Raining, but still beautiful. But this is how Rome is. You've got this archaeological finds in the middle of the city. Like you can see, like that's the city street, the buildings, and it's right in the middle is all of the archaeological stuff. And you just walk and you see this stuff and you're like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. I'm pointing out where Caesar's death was. Rome is just amazing. I can't say enough about it. Again, too many tourists, but it just doesn't care. I don't care. And I even could have gotten a UN job in Rome 20 years ago. And that one I probably should have taken, but what do? Y'all make mistakes. You took your ex-girlfriend, you had a flaming argument in Rome. There's a very cool above ground cemetery in Rome called Verano, I believe. A friend took me there 40 years ago. It's one of the most beautiful places I've been in my life. It's an above ground cemetery. It's not ancient or anything, but it's beautiful rolling hills. Oh my God. Yeah, it's called summer, I guess, in English, but it's Verano. Beautiful, beautiful cemetery. Yeah. Rome is wonderful. We didn't even get to go to the Vatican because we were only there for 48 hours. I'd been before a lot, but my nephew's wife had never been there. We wanted to go sort of show, and I just wanted to go again. How do you not go to Rome? It was pretty amazing. But yeah, we ate a lot. We had good food. Anyway, it makes me sad to be back, but especially with all of this crap going on, we'll see. I got to get out of here. I've got to get out of Washington, D.C. I got to get to Europe. Somebody marry me. Let me get to Europe. Anyway, I've been to Venice like 40 years ago. I've not been to it since. No. The lemons? You mean that's right. We picked the lemons. We used some of them. We didn't use them all. We used some of them. They stayed very good, actually. Sounds like a spy trip. Yeah, not to Florence and Rome. It wasn't. Did America just surrender to Russia? Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Hazel, get in line. All right. Spare room. All right. Thank you, Paula. All right, guys, we've been talking for 2 hours. I'm going to get going because I don't like to go too long because of my voice. But since I hadn't done these in a while, I'm not going to watch Trump's speech tonight. I can't. I just can't. I have no stomach for it. It makes me sick watching him. So I'm not going to watch him for an hour. I'm going to go and I'll check out the highlights. I just don't think I can stomach watching him and them. It's like watching your country go down the tubes. I'm going to keep doing the work I do. I'm going to keep covering it. I'll do some videos about it, but I'll think about it over the next 50 minutes, but I don't think I can watch. I don't think I can. It just makes me sick. Thank you, Janice, for that. Anyway, all right. So, guys, appreciate that. As long as I clean the bath. That is oddly specific, Paula, but that's very funny. All right, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you for joining. Glad I'm back to see you all. Not glad I'm back overall, but glad I'm back to see you all. But I will see you guys tomorrow. And that's it. The show is every Monday night through Friday. You guys know 6 o'clock Eastern. Follow me on TikTok. I did forget to tell people to follow me on TikTok. Oops. Got to do that. I'll tell you right now, follow me if anybody hasn't followed me already on TikTok, because the TikTok gods like that. It sort of affects what percentage they give us on the lives and of the gifts you give. It's very crazy stuff. But do please follow me. Thank you, Maple, for following. Thank you. The show must go on. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Good seeing you all. We'll be back tomorrow. All right. Disco, a couple of you, Arctic and Whitney. See you guys. And the rest of you, I will start. Oh, thank you for the butterflies. Who is that? Dawn. Thank you, darling. All right, disconnect quietly. All right, Discord is gone. YouTube, you're next. Thank you, Smug. See you guys. Boom. And then